Greetings to the learners. Today we are going to discuss about Chaturvarna system in India, how it involves in the social exclusion and inclusion of Indian system. When we talk about the Chaturvarna system, it has its origins in the religious text in the ancient time, which is also called as the Veda system. This text talks about the roles and duties based on the Varna system as well as the regional practices, occupational specifics and power dynamics in the ancient time based on the Varna system. What is Chaturvarna? Chaturvarna is an ancient system of social stratification which provides the social roles based on 4 different categories. The first one is called as Brahmins. These group of peoples are having the ritual authority and having the educational knowledge and also the gatekeepers of religious knowledge. Second comes the Kshatriyas. These people are predominantly involved in the military and political leadership and also the protector roles in the polity. Third comes the Vaishyas. Most of these peoples are involved in trade and commerce and also they are the major economic production unit of the society. Fourth comes the Shudras. These people are involving in the labor for other 3 categories of Varna system, especially the subordinate in the ritual hierarchies. Then, what are the problems of this Varna system in the ancient time, which talks about the land ownership of the people in the society. Most of the upper Varnas will have the land ownership and the lower Varnas will not have the ownership in the land. They will be mostly the laborers of those land. Then educational access. The lower Varnas will not have the permission or the access to the formal education in the society. Only the upper Varnas will have the access to the educational system. And third comes the spatial segregation, which is the major problem in the Varna system, which means the lower Varnas are not allowed to live together with the other Varnas in the society. They are spatially excluded from the common places like communal spaces or religious temple or anywhere in the society. So this is the major problem of the Varna system in the ancient time. Then, why this Varna system was created and what was the reality? This Varna system was created to provide the social role to maintain the social order in a society and also to create a mutual obligation and ritual interdependence. But in reality, it only creates the social stratification and provides the hereditary occupation, which is the lower Varnas are allowed to do the occupation which was their ancestors did in the older times. So, the elite groups are occupying the privileges and positions comparing to the lower Varna system. So, in reality, it only creates the social discrimination and social stratification. In contemporary timing, what are the averages of people of lower Varnas, nowadays called as caste or Jadi, are occupying in the society? Only 35% of the marginalized group or the lower caste people are occupying the occupations in the national level market, and 28% of the people only having the formal education and 40% of the people only having the access to the marginalization. Then the efforts towards inclusion. So what are the things we have to do for the social inclusion of these people? Providing the constitutional provisions like equality before law, prohibition of discrimination and reservation policies will help them to come forward in their life. And apart from the constitutional provisions, there are the social movements like providing the movements which are advocating for the land rights, education and dignity of the people. Then educational initiatives like providing scholarship and reservations in the schools, colleges and jobs will help them to improve themselves and better empowerment of these marginalized people. Then, what are the challenges in providing these things? The first thing is that educational skill programs, which is the lack of training for the people will also the one of the barrier, and the social stigma like discrimination and exclusion will also the barrier for providing the better life for the marginalized people. Then there should be a policy reform in the society is needed to improve the lives of the marginalized people. Then community led inclusion, which means the local participation of the marginalized people will support them for the future betterment. Then structural inequality, which means the unequal access and opportunity will also stop the progress of the marginalized community in the society. So, what are the key takeaways from this presentation? First of all, when we talk about the Chaturvarna system, we have to analyze the historical roots and backgrounds and what are the injustices happened in the previous or ancient time. That will help us to understand and analyze the better solution and remedies for the betterment of the marginalized people. Then we have to increase the education, deepen the participatory governance and support community leadership. These things will improve the life of the marginalized community in the society. I hope you all understand this presentation. Thank you all.